With constant sales across various digital storefronts, gamers are always on the hunt for the next great deal to expand their libraries. These time-limited offers present the perfect opportunity to snag critically acclaimed titles and hidden gems at a fraction of their usual price. So, in this video, I'll showcase some of the best deals that you can snag right now on Steam. Starting off with Resident Evil 4, the remake that blew everyone's minds during its release last 2023. It's currently 25% off, which is a steal for one of the best games of 2023. Capcom knocked it out of the park with this one, completely overhauling the original while still keeping that classic Resident Evil 4 feel. The visuals are stunning, the gameplay is tight, and Leon Kennedy has never looked better. They've even added some new content and expanded on certain areas of the game. If you're a fan of the series, you've probably already played it, but if you've been holding off, now's your chance. And hey, with all the DLC they've been putting out, including the recent Separate Ways expansion, there's never been a better time to jump in. Just be prepared for some truly horrifying moments. That chainsaw guy still gives me nightmares. Next up, we've got Astro Colony at 40% off. This space colony sim flew under the radar for a lot of people, but it's absolutely worth your time. Think Factorio meets Astroneer, and you're on the right track. You're tasked with building and managing a thriving colony in space, and let me tell you, it's no easy feat. The game's got a great art style, and the attention to detail is impressive. You'll find yourself lost in the intricacies of resource management and base building for hours on end. The developers have been consistently updating the game since its release, adding new features and content, including the multiplayer mode. Despite being on early access, there are lots of things to do in Astro Colony. So if you're into management sims with a sci-fi twist, don't sleep on Astro Colony. Moving on to Deadlink, currently half off. This cyberpunk roguelite FPS is a hidden gem that deserves way more attention. You're a mercenary jacked into a neural network, fighting through procedurally generated levels filled with corporate goons and deadly robots. The gameplay is fast-paced and fluid, with a wide variety of weapons and upgrades to choose from. What really sets Deadlink apart is its unique hacking mechanic. You can manipulate the environment, turn enemies against each other, and even slow down time. It's like if Doom and Watch Dogs had a baby, and that baby was raised by Blade Runner. The developers have been actively supporting the game, recently adding a new playable character and a bunch of new weapons. There's even talks of a potential VR mode in the works, which would be absolutely insane. If you haven't tried it yet, maybe now is the time to grab it, since it's currently at 50% off. Dead Island 2 is also 50% off, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride. After years of development hell, this zombie-slaying sequel finally saw the light of day, and it's surprisingly good. I know there are lots of negative feedback about the game, but personally, I enjoyed it. And again, every one of us have our own preferences. Set in a quarantined Los Angeles, you'll be bashing, slicing, and shooting your way through hordes of the undead. The game's got a great sense of humor, and the combat is satisfyingly gory. They've really leaned into the over-the-top nature of the series, with some truly ridiculous weapons and abilities. The recent House DLC added even more content, including a new playable area and some truly bizarre new zombies. It's not going to win any Game of the Year awards, but if you're looking for some mindless fun, Dead Island 2 delivers in spades. SEUM Speedrunners from Hell is 60% off, and it's exactly what it sounds like, a first-person speedrunning game set in hell. This game is pure, distilled adrenaline. You'll be platforming through increasingly difficult levels, trying to shave milliseconds off your time. The twist? You've got magical powers like teleportation and time manipulation. It's like if Doom and Super Meat Boy had a love child, and that child was raised by Satan himself. The level design is fiendishly clever, and the difficulty curve is just right. You'll die a lot, but you'll always feel like that perfect run is just within reach. The developers have been adding new levels and game modes since release, including a recent update that added a level editor. So, if you've got a masochistic streak and lightning-fast reflexes, SEUM is the game for you. Alright, let's keep this train rolling with Isonzo, currently 65% off. This World War I FPS is part of the World War I game series, following Verdun and Tannenberg. Set in the Alps during the Italian front of World War I, Isonzo offers a unique and often overlooked perspective on the Great War. The attention to historical detail is impressive, from the uniforms to the weapons to the landscapes. Gameplay is tense and tactical, with a heavy emphasis on teamwork and positioning. It's not your typical run-and-gun shooter. One well-placed bullet can take you out, so you need to play smart. The developers have been consistently adding new content, including a recent update that added the Caporetto offensive. They've even hinted at expanding to other fronts of the war in future updates. If you're a history buff or just looking for a more grounded, realistic shooter, Isonzo is definitely worth checking out. The Forgotten City is also 65% off, and let me tell you, this game is a mind-bender. What started as a Skyrim mod has evolved into one of the most intriguing and unique games of recent years. You're trapped in an ancient Roman city where if anyone commits a sin, everyone dies. Your job? Figure out what's going on and try to break the loop. The writing is top-notch with some genuinely thought-provoking moral dilemmas. The time loop mechanic is cleverly implemented, allowing you to gain knowledge and make different choices each cycle. The developers have been teasing some DLC, potentially exploring other historical periods with similar moral conundrums. If you're into narrative-driven games with a philosophical bent, The Forgotten City is a must-play. They Always Run is 66% off, and it's a sci-fi bounty hunting adventure that you'll want to keep an eye on. You play as a three-armed mutant tracking down the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. The combat is fluid and satisfying, with your extra arm adding a unique twist to the gameplay. You'll be platforming, fighting, and puzzle-solving your way across a variety of alien worlds. The art style is gorgeous, with a hand-drawn look that really brings the sci-fi western setting to life. The developers have been steadily adding new content, including a recent update that added a new planet to explore. They've even hinted at a possible sequel in the works. If you're a fan of Metroidvanias or just love a good space western, They Always Run is definitely worth your time. Human Fall Flat is 70% off, and it's still one of the most hilariously frustrating multiplayer games out there. This physics-based puzzle platformer has you controlling wobbly, customizable characters through a series of increasingly absurd obstacles. The joy of Human Fall Flat comes from its chaos. You'll be laughing as much as you're cursing as you and your friends fumble your way through levels. The developers have been incredibly supportive, constantly adding new levels and customization options. They've even opened up level creation to the community, leading to some truly insane user-created content. With crossplay support recently added, there's never been a better time to dive into this blob person playground. Next up, we've got 112 Operator. This is also at 70% off, and it will put you in the hot seat as an emergency dispatcher. It's a management sim that will test your ability to stay cool under pressure. You'll be coordinating police, fire, and medical responses across a variety of scenarios, from everyday accidents to full-blown disasters. The game does an excellent job of ramping up the tension, with multiple emergencies often happening simultaneously. Recent updates have added new scenarios, including a pandemic mode that feels a bit too real these days. There are also lots of DLCs that have been released, and all of them are also on a big discount. If you've ever watched a disaster movie and thought you could do better, here's your chance to prove it. Jurassic World Evolution 2 is 70% off, and it's the Dino Park management sim you've been waiting for. Building on the foundation of the first game, Jurassic World Evolution 2 adds more depth to the management systems and more variety to the dinosaurs. You'll be balancing guest satisfaction with dino welfare, all while trying to prevent the inevitable breakouts. The game looks gorgeous, with incredibly detailed dinosaur models that really bring your park to life. Recent DLC has added new scenarios and dinosaurs, including some deep cuts for the hardcore paleontology fans. The developers have teased future updates that could include underwater and flying reptiles, expanding the park's potential even further. If you've ever dreamed of running your own Jurassic Park, now's your chance. Pumpkin Jack is 77% off, and it's the perfect game to get you in the Halloween spirit. This 3D platformer is a love letter to the classic action games of the PS2 era. You play as Jack, the Pumpkin Lord, on a quest to save Halloween. The gameplay is a mix of combat, platforming, and light puzzle solving, with a great sense of humor throughout. The art style is charming, with a Tim Burton-esque aesthetic that really nails the spooky but fun vibe. Apart from PC, Pumpkin Jack is also available on consoles and Switch. It is also worth noting that it's a Steam Deck verified game. If you're looking for some seasonal fun or just miss the days of mascot platformers, Pumpkin Jack is a treat. Torchlight II is a whopping 80% off, and it's still one of the best Diablo-like ARPGs out there. This game is all about loot, leveling, and laying waste to hordes of enemies, with 4 distinct classes and a pet system that lets you send your furry friend to town to sell loot. Torchlight II streamlines the ARPG experience without sacrificing depth. The game has aged incredibly well thanks to its colorful art style and solid gameplay foundation. The modding community is still active, constantly adding new content and tweaks. With Torchlight 3 not quite living up to expectations, many fans are returning to this classic. If you've somehow missed out on Torchlight 2 all these years, now's the perfect time to jump in. Livelock is 85% off, and it's a hidden gem in the top-down shooter genre. Set in a post-apocalyptic world where consciousness has been transferred to machines, you play as one of 3 classes of robots fighting to restore humanity. The gameplay is fast-paced and satisfying, with a good variety of weapons and abilities to mix things up. While it flew under the radar at release, Livelock has developed a cult following over the years. The gameplay is smooth, and given that it was released a few years ago, it's surprising to see that this game can par even with the greatest top-down shooter games we have right now. If you're looking for a solid co-op experience or just want to blow up some robots, Livelock is worth a look. Finally, we've got Serial Cleaner at a massive 90% off. This stealth action game puts you in the shoes of a professional crime scene cleaner in the 1970s. You'll be sneaking around crime scenes, disposing of bodies, cleaning up blood, and hiding evidence, all while avoiding the police. The retro art style and funky soundtrack perfectly capture the 70s aesthetic. The gameplay is challenging but fair, with each level feeling like a puzzle to be solved. This game received a positive response from many gamers, resulting to the developer releasing a new serial cleaner game in 2022. However, the new game did not quite do well as it receives a mixed reviews after release. Now, if you're curious which game to try first, then I recommend this one, given that it's at 90% discount. If you enjoyed this rundown of gaming deals, smash that like button to help more players discover these awesome games. And don't forget to subscribe for more contents like this. Until next time, happy gaming!